Good morning, this is Chuck again. It's freezing cold outside, but we're still here making E-Type parts. I wanted to talk to you this morning about E-Type outer sills. Right here, we just made a custom pair of outer sills for a super early car. They're very cool. We really get excited about that kind of stuff because we're E-Type nerds. I'll tell you about that in a minute. First, I want to tell you some of the basics about outer sills for your E-Type. So come on over and we'll take a look. This is the readily available outer sill that is getting sold around the world. They pretty much all come from the same place no matter where you buy them. I've covered up the labels because I don't want to get into all that, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out where this one came from. This is our master gauge. You can see this thing is worn smooth. The words are almost off. It's got a little star on it. This is the law around here. This is the actual profile of an E-Type outer sill, and this part up here is very important. We'll get to that in a minute. Before we get into all that, I want to show you, this is our sill back here. It's in bare, cold-rolled steel. You won't have to strip off this crummy black primer. Some of the differences that come out right away, you'll see that this one has this bend on the bottom. That is not stock. You don't need that. We'll talk about that again in a minute. This is the rear drain for all E-Types, Series 1 and Series 2. This right here is absolutely correct in width, depth, length, the whole 9 yards. This is how it should look. This is how theirs looks. It is too small, and when you spot weld this to the floor, you pretty much cover this whole thing up every time. So that's not doing anything. Down here, this drain here that a lot of people might be familiar with, we call this the double teardrop. This is a Series 2 only thing, and this is actually behind the bulkhead closing panel, and so this is also in the wrong spot. Usually you've got to hammer this side flat just to get this to fit the floor. But again, this is only a Series 2 thing, so you don't want this on the earlier cars. It's really kind of a pain. I hate it anyway. Up here you'll notice this is the right-hand outer sill in both examples. The right hand only has 2 holes on it. The other source puts the same 4 holes that are in the left hand in both the left hand and the right hand side. As a fabricator, I'm sure they're doing that because they just cut the same blanks for both sides. So that's what's going on there. Let's get back to this gauge. This is the profile that you want. Now, you should be able to notice that as it comes down, it increases in radius. That's the trick. And you have got to have this increase in radius, because if you don't, when your bonnet and your door come down, and I meant to grab another gauge before the start of this video, but when your bonnet and door come down, the E-Type is actually tight up top. It flattens out and comes down, goes down the door, still stays kind of flat, and then shoots in. If you don't have this radius, like the other sills have a single radius, it doesn't increase. And the reason they do that is because it's easier to make it. You just roll it through the roller one time. This is how theirs looks. And so what happens is, instead of, you can see the door comes down and then it just shoots in. And it ruins what's called the light line on an E-Type. You've got to have the light line right. Now let's put this up here again for a minute. Let's talk about the awesome and perfect Monocoque Sill. All right, we'll just cock this in here. This little notch here is extremely important. This is the seal line under the door, and actually we're again on the right-hand sill. This is the section that's in the forward bulkhead side panel. This channel is the same. See, when we set this in here, you see how this fits the sill perfectly. And look in here. We made this gauge with a file to make it perfect because you have got to have a very tight bend here so that you've got a good seal on the bottom of the door. Now, hard to grab a door, but, you know, just kind of imagine the door comes down like this, kind of like this. You know, you want a nice tight gap and a nice tight roll here. This turns into a big problem with the competition sill because, so we can tuck this in here like this. This channel is too deep, it's too wide, and this edge is way too soft. And so what happens is, when you use this sill on a restoration, sorry, I try to make these videos go as fast as I can. Your door ends up here, you've got this huge gap, and this is rounded. So body shops will be tempted to build this up with a little filler, and now you've got this edge that can chip off. On top of that, you can see where they've taken the single radius across, so you're running away from that light line that you need. And see, that's why this bend is down in here. Remember I told you we'd come back to that? They've got to have that to get you back to straight, so you can get to the floor. And so it doesn't matter. People always say, well, you know, you can bend them in. Listen, you are not going to bend this in. All right? That's as far as I can bend it. You'll see up here, look at this here. See the wrinkled up edge, and you might have to kind of come down on it some to see how wrinkly the edge is. We'll tuck this back in here. See the difference here? Look at this. This is us. This is them. And so your body shop is trying to figure out what to do here, and then they're packing on filler to get it to match with the curve of the front wheel arch. Not a good idea. So this may seem like a sales pitch, and you know, it kind of is, but it's more of a public service message. If I had the means to give these away for free, I would. Just to not have these going on any more E-Types, you would not believe the difference in the finished car with the light line when you've got the right shape on the side of the car. These fit like a glove. We have sent out maybe 100, I think it's about 100 pairs so far. Rave reviews on every set. Now, I promised you I'd come back to these. I made these yesterday. These are really cool. I can't tell you the car number that these came off of for privacy reasons, but let's just say it is super early. Probably the earliest car I will ever touch. All right? This is basically a pre-production car. So the cool thing about these, they were the same as our Sills in all dimensions and regards, but see down here, they were too short. And at the factory, they put on this extension piece here. Now these dots are the spot welds. And what we did, which side is this? This is the right hand, which is this guy right here. I went through at the customer's request and marked every single spot weld. We rolled these in a batch of Sills. Brent, who's behind the camera, hi Brent, he made this little extension piece that's the same. I actually went through and marked every single spot weld. We put the spot welds in the exact same spot. All right? See how these holes are hand drilled kind of right up against the edge? They're in the exact same spot. He wanted this super early E-Type to be exactly the same. The other difference is, guess they hadn't figured out the drain hole yet, so no drain hole in these. Here's the other side. Same deal, and it's over here. He took the originals off and sent them in. You can see where on the one side, they went all the way up to the front. Well, actually, these are reversed. That's the back of one and the front of the other. See here? See, look at this. That one went that far, that one went that far. So this is nothing more than a strip where they said, uh-oh, this isn't long enough, and they put a strip right on there. So that's my spiel this morning about outer sills. Trust me, you want these. They will save the look of the car. They will save you hours and hours of the body shop putting in filler that you don't want in there in the first place. They're right They're guaranteed. They're in fresh, cold-rolled steel that you don't have to strip off. It is money very well spent on the E-Type. Thanks for watching.